A 10-year-old in 1910 could start a fire from cold iron, find north without a compass, stop a bleeding wound, and name 20 wild plants by their leaves. And that was just the morning at school. Hand most modern adults that same test, and they'd fail every single question. We didn't get smarter over the last 100 years. We just stopped teaching the things that actually keep a person alive. We tend to imagine the old American education as quaint. Slates, chalk, reciting the times tables. But the truth is far more striking than that. American schools, especially rural ones, were also training grounds for survival. Because the teachers knew something we've forgotten. A child who can't take care of themselves becomes an adult who can't take care of anyone. Tonight we're walking through 15 survival skills that ordinary American children were taught right alongside spelling and history. Skills that most modern adults couldn't pass today. 1. How to build and tend a fire. Every morning, the older boys were sent to lay the schoolhouse fire. They split kindling, arranged it correctly, struck the match, and tended the stove all day long. By the time a boy was 10, he could start a fire from cold iron in under 5 minutes. Teachers timed them with a pocket watch and praised the fastest learner in front of the whole class. A small humiliation for the slow ones, but it worked, and no child left that school cold-fingered. 2. How to carry and boil water safely. Water was hauled from the school well or a nearby spring. Children learned that water from the wrong source could kill them, and water from any source had to be boiled if there was the slightest doubt. Cleanliness wasn't taught as theory. It was taught as protection. The teacher demonstrated boiling on the schoolhouse stove and explained, in language a 6-year-old could understand, exactly what germs were and what they did to a careless child. 3. How to read a compass and a map. Geography lessons weren't just about naming countries. Children learned to find north, walk a bearing, estimate distance, and read a hand-drawn map of their county. If a child got caught in a snowstorm walking home, that knowledge could save their life. A teacher might send the older boys out across a frozen field with a single instruction: find your way to the white pine and back, and grade them on how straight a line they walked. 4. Basic first aid. Cuts cleaned with boiled water. Splinters drawn with a needle held in a flame. Bandages folded properly. Pressure applied to bleeding wounds. Children practiced on each other and on rag dolls, and a teacher could tell at a glance which student knew their stuff. A class might bandage one another's pretend wounds for an hour, then sit down to a spelling test, and the teacher considered both lessons equally important. 5. How to identify plants, helpful and harmful. Botany was hands-on. Teachers walked their classes along creek beds and through pastures, pointing out plantain for stings, yarrow for cuts, and pokeweed for absolutely nothing, because eating it could kill you. Every child left school knowing at least 20 plants by leaf, stem, and smell. A child who pointed out a poison oak leaf during a Saturday hike could save the whole family weeks of itching, and that small triumph was praised in front of everyone on Monday. 6. Sewing a button, patching a hole. Girls and boys alike learned to handle a needle. A button reattached on the schoolhouse porch. A torn sleeve patched at recess. The reasoning was simple. A child who couldn't keep their clothes together couldn't keep themselves warm. A boy who could sew his own torn pants on a rainy recess was considered as accomplished as a boy who could spell the longest word on the board. 7. Basic cooking over open flame. Older girls in particular learned to boil eggs, fry potatoes, and bake biscuits over a wood fire or stovetop. The lessons were often combined with arithmetic, measuring, doubling recipes, calculating cook times. Real math in a real kitchen. A girl who could double a biscuit recipe in her head while she rolled out the dough was, in 1910, considered remarkably well-educated. 8. How to care for livestock. Many schools kept chickens, a milk cow, or a school garden. Children took turns feeding, watering, and cleaning. They learned that an animal that isn't cared for stops giving you what you need, a lesson that applied to a lot more than chickens. A school that kept a milk cow taught more about responsibility in a single winter than most modern curricula manage in a year. 9. How to swim and save someone drowning. Schools near rivers and lakes taught swimming as a survival skill, not a sport. Children learned to float, to swim with their clothes on, and, critically, to throw a rope to a drowning classmate rather than jump in after them. The lesson, throw a rope, don't jump, saved more lives in rural America than any other single piece of schoolhouse instruction. 10. Penmanship as communication. Beautiful, legible handwriting wasn't vanity. It was survival. A letter mailed home from a faraway job, a note left for a parent, a list of supplies sent into town. All of it depended on writing that anyone could read. Bad penmanship was treated as a real failure. A letter that arrived smudged or unreadable was considered a small failure of character, and teachers corrected handwriting with the patience of a sculptor working stone. 11. Mental arithmetic. Children calculated change, weights, and measures in their heads. The reason was practical. They would be running farms, stores, and households where being cheated by a few cents per pound every week for 40 years could mean the difference between solvency and ruin. A child who could count change at the general store at age 8 was a child who would not be cheated as a grown adult, and the teachers knew it. 12. How to knot a rope. Boys especially learned half a dozen knots: the bowline, the clove hitch, the square knot, the slip knot. A child who could tie a proper bowline could secure a load, rescue someone from a hole, or lash a broken wagon back together. A boy who couldn't tie a bowline by his 12th birthday was teased mercilessly by his classmates until he learned, which usually didn't take long. 13. How to walk long distances safely. Many children walked 3, 4, even 5 miles to school. Teachers taught them to pace themselves, to recognize the warning signs of frostbite and heat stroke, and to never leave a slower classmate behind. Walking, done correctly, was a discipline. A class hiked together on the last Friday of every month, and the slower children were never left behind. The strong simply walked at the pace of the weak, and it was understood to be a virtue. 14. Civic conduct and personal responsibility. Children memorized the Declaration of Independence and recited the Gettysburg Address. But more importantly, they were drilled daily in honesty, punctuality, and accountability. A child who lied lost the trust of the whole school, and that lesson stayed. A teacher who caught a child in a lie made the lie the lesson, and the child remembered it for the rest of their life. And so did everyone watching. 15. How to pass it on. And the final skill, taught more by example than by lesson. How to teach what you knew to someone younger. Older students were expected to help the younger ones with reading, with arithmetic, with chores. A skill wasn't fully yours until you could hand it to another child without breaking it. A 15-year-old who could patiently explain long division to a 7-year-old was, in the eyes of the schoolmaster, well on the way to becoming a fully formed adult. 15 skills. 15 pieces of real, working competence that a 10-year-old American in 1910 was expected to carry out the schoolhouse door and into their life. Compare that to what we teach today, and a sobering question rises up. Are we educating children for the real world they'll live in, or just for the test they'll take next Tuesday? The old schoolhouse didn't have much. A stove, a chalkboard, a few worn books, but it produced adults who could feed themselves, find their way home, and take care of a neighbor in trouble. Maybe that's a lesson worth getting back, because at the end of the day, education was never really about filling a head with facts. It was about preparing a small human being to walk out into a hard, beautiful, unpredictable world and to walk through it on their own 2 feet. That was the goal in 1910. Quietly, patiently, with chalk on a slate and a stove burning in the corner, it was also the daily achievement.